close enough, and that's what's usually used. This kind of scheme actually works okay because, in general, the nucleotides are not all that chemically dissimilar. But when you compare them to amino acids, the situational landscape becomes much more complex. So this is an example of a protein scoring matrix. It's something called BLOSUM62. This is the default matrix that is used for the blast searches at FCBI. You'll notice across the top, we have all the amino acids across the top and going down the side. So let's take a couple of cases so you can see how this is different from what happens in the nucleotide world. Let's say, again, you have sequence A and sequence B. You've aligned them, and there's a particular position where you have two tryptophanes lining up with each other. So we're going to look for the W up here, the W over here, and see where they intersect. And in this case, for that particular position, because it matched, the value that we assess is 11 points. Now, what I want you to do, and you can probably see this better on the screen, look at the diagonal. And you'll see that unlike the nucleotide case where a match was always assessed the same value, here it's not. Okay, so here we're taking, again, into account how frequently these amino acids occur in the entire constellation of proteins. Okay, so with tryptophan being the rarest of the residues, it has the highest score on the diagonal. Now let's say we, instead of that tryptophan lining up with another tryptophan, the tryptophan lines up with a tyrosine, so a W with a Y. So now if we look at the intersection of those two, we see a value of +2. Okay, so this takes into account the fact that these two can and often are observed to substitute for one another in proteins, but it's not an exact match. So we can't give it as many points as we would for the exact match. Instead, we give it a lower score, but it's still a positive score. We take the third case where it's just a total mismatch. So something like a 50 for glutamine. In this case, you see that there is a negative value here of -3. Okay, so these are two residues that do not normally substitute for one another based on observation, so we subtract points. So the basic rules here are, anytime you have an exact match, you get the most points. Rare residues earning more points than an exact match of common residues. You also earn points for conservative substitutions, just not as many as you would for an exact match, and finally, you lose points for mismatches. So that's the way the rules work, no matter what kind of this type of matrix that we're looking at. So let's talk a little bit more about the BLOSUM matrices. The good news about these matrices is you never have to construct them yourself. They're all constructed for you, but again, it's knowing which one you have to pick. So how was that matrix just constructed, the one we just looked at? Again, it's looking for differences in conserved ungap regions of a protein family. So it's taking multiple sequence alignments of known protein families and looking for how often these residues can substitute for one another and how often they occur. So directly calculated based on local alignments, coming up with these substitution probabilities and the overall frequency of amino acids. Because of how they've been constructed, they're really sensitive to detecting even subtle changes in structural work function. So because of that, they are the best performing of the series of matrices available to you. Historically, in the very early days of bioinformatics, there was another series called the PAM matrices, and these were derived at a time when very little sequence information was available. They were mostly based on globular proteins with a lot of extrapolations going on. The only reason I point that out to you is because, especially if you're using phylogenetic programs, you won't often see them as an option, but I would instead recommend that you pick one of the BLOSUM matrices for your sites. So bottom line, you can use these matrices to find both closely related and distantly related sequences. So here's where evolution now comes into play. You'll notice in that matrix we looked at, with all of the numbers on it, it was called BLOSUM62. So what does that number stand for? It always is BLOSUM and a number. What the number represents to you is in this first bullet point is that that particular matrix was built using sequences that share no more than n% identity. In the BLOSUM62 case, 62% identity. And so in order to remove bias, what ends up happening is we go through a process that looks like this. So let's say we have a multiple sequence alignment here. There are a couple of conserved positions which are noted by the asterisk. And let's say we wanted to construct a BLOSUM80 matrix. So we're going to look for all of the pairwise combinations of these things and cluster together any of the sequences that are 80% or more similar to one another. Okay. In the next step, we actually cluster those together. So this cluster is represented by this sequence, these three by a single sequence, and these two by a single sequence. And at that point, we can calculate the matrix. Why do we do this? The reason is really more of the history of sequencing than anything else. There are more and more whole genome sequences available to us, but they're not very perfectly spread across all of the taxa. As you undoubtedly know in doing your own searches over at NCBI, that you will see the same gene has been sequenced many, many times. So when you look at them, which one is the right one? If you took all of that information together, you would end up biasing the analysis. So it's really just a matter of trying to take this vast amount of sequence data that we have available to us, but narrow it down to them in a format that will end up being most biologically informative in order to do these comparisons. Okay, so implications. Again, when we do this clustering, we reduce the contribution of closely related sequences, less bias. Bottom line, when we reduce n, you get more distantly related sequences. When we increase n, you get more closely related sequences. So this is your first cheat sheet of the morning. Put a star on this slide, please. And basically give you some recommendations of where you should be looking for your for selections. If you're looking for shorter alignments that are highly similar, you're going to pick a BLOSUM matrix with a higher number, and you can see here's a range of similarity that is best in detecting. At the bottom, if you use a BLOSUM30 matrix, you would get longer, weaker local alignments, but you would use these to detect more distantly related proteins, things that have much lower sequence similarity. The one in yellow, the Bronson 62, is the default. And just, again, from testing, this is the most effective at finding all potential similarities. This is the default value when you go to NCBI's last website. Okay, so you can pick one of these, but I would actually defer to the guru in this field, Steve Altschul, who was the driving force behind the development of BLAST many, many years ago. And what he normally recommends, when you don't really know what you're looking for, is to use a triple BLAST strategy. Take the default, pick a higher number, pick a lower number, and run your query sequence 3 times against using those 3 different matrices. And that's what I would recommend you do as you get more and more familiar with these methodologies, because you'll start to find that by tweaking these values, you're going to start to deduce relationships that you didn't know that existed or didn't even have any inkling that they existed when you started. So start off with doing these triple strategies until you get more familiar again, or unless you really, really know what you're looking for. The bottom line is probably as apparent at this point is that no single matrix is the complete answer for all of these sequence comparisons. And so again, I give you a strategy. There's more information in this current protocols in bioinformatics piece by David Wheeler. It's fun to add much more length about the selection of the matrices, but you have enough to get yourself started. Okay, so that's the matrices. Now, many of you have already done pairwise sequence alignments, multiple sequence alignments, and a lot of times you see gaps that are inserted. And the gaps are put there to improve the alignment. But the thing you have to keep in mind is that in putting those gaps in to improve the alignment, you have basically inserted a biological intent, okay? It could be a deletion, it could be an insertion, okay? So it's not just, I'm going to make it pretty by putting some gaps in. There's actually something that has to happen in the background to make that actually true. So because of that, you have to keep the gaps to a reasonable number and not reflect a biologically implausible situation. And the rule of thumb that most people use is about 1 per 20. Of course, it depends on what case you're looking at. But going back to the scoring matrices, you can now ask yourself, well, how do you score these things? Because we've been talking about aligning residues, coming up with a value for each particular position. How do you score a nucleotide or an amino acid to a gap, which is essentially nothing, okay? So it's not a match, it's not a mismatch. What do we do with the numbers? So there is something called the affine gap penalty, and this is because we are, again, this is an implicit biological event. We have to actually deduct points anytime we put a gap into an alignment. The formula is here. So G plus ln, G is a gap opening penalty, so just when you put that first gap position in, it takes a big penalty usually. So on the nucleotide side, you're deducting 5 points. On the protein side, you're deducting 11 points right off the bat. Every time you extend that gap by 1 more position, you assess this extension penalty, 2 in the case of nucleotides, 1 in the case of proteins. Okay? So again, keep in mind it's not just about making your alignment pretty, it's about really making it biologically plausible. And you can change these values, can only change in the BLAST algorithm to make the gaps more or less permissive. Okay? So with all of that by way of background, we now can finally talk about BLAST, the basic local alignment search tool. This is really the cornerstone, the most important technique we use in bioinformatics, because again, it allows us to make these assumptions about morphology, chorality, what have you, really trying to figure out how two proteins are available to other and what we can learn by aligning them to one another. So we're going to hit this pretty hard today, and it's because it's important that you know how to use it properly. Unfortunately, there are many cases in the literature because of the improper use of BLAST that have led to really wrong conclusions. And at the end of the day, it's because people either didn't know how to use it or they didn't interpret the results properly. The most important thing to take away from this lecture or any of the bioinformatics lectures along the way is that just because you see something in a list of results does not automatically imply biological significance. We're going to see probability, we're going to see scores, we're going to see all of these things, but a lot of those things that appear in the output list actually have no biological relevance, and this is where we're going to help you figure out which ones do and which ones don't. So it's an election here, so let's go ahead and take a poll. How many of you have used BLAST before? Okay, how many of you know how it actually works? Okay, a little fewer, good for self-awareness. And for those few of you who've done it before, I know you've done. How many of you have ever changed the default values? Oh, good, a few of you, thank you. Okay, now, for the rest of you, nothing to be ashamed of, all will be revealed today, and you'll be able to consider yourself experts by the end of today's lecture. So, okay, back to BLAST, the basic local alignment search tool. What BLAST seeks to do is find things called high-scoring segment pairs, HSPs, that is, simply are pairs of sequences that can be aligned with one another. When they are aligned, based on our scoring matrices, they have the largest maximum score possible. That you can't make that score better by making the alignment longer or shorter. They have to break something called a score threshold, and it can be either gapped or ungapped. So since this method is looking for these little paired subsequences, again, a local alignment method, the results you get back are not limited to just the best alignment between two sequences. It'll give you all of the plausible alignments between two sequences. Okay. There are 5 different programs in the BLAST family, and you can just differentiate them by the last letter. So BLAST N starts with a nucleotide sequence as its query, and it does its searches against the nucleotide database. BLAST T, the P stands for protein, so we're taking a protein sequence and searching it against the database of protein sequences. BLAST X does something a little bit funky. You start off with a nucleotide sequence, a 6-frame translation is performed, and based on those translations, the search is done against a protein database. So the comparison is actually proteins versus protein, even though you started with a nucleotide sequence. The others are on the slide for sake of completion, but in your own trial, these are the 3 that you will probably use more often than not. Okay, so how does this actually work? So let's say we have this query sequence of a particular length, and what LASS does is it doesn't try to take this whole thing at once and do an alignment. Instead, it starts with just a few, in this case, amino acids, the default seeds. Invest in teaching to completely redesign my approach to teaching. Until then, I felt I'd just try to improve things, in a sense, working from a system that's somewhat broken and trying to make some pieces work better. But this gave me the opportunity to actually wipe everything off the table and start fresh. So I used that year as research to educate myself. I traveled around, I visited a number of institute programs. I went first locally to MIT to look at the field classroom, technology and interactive learning. I observed classes there. I went to Olin College where I spent many days looking at their approaches to educating engineers. I went to McMaster to look at the integrated science curriculum, Melbourne University. In fact, I traveled around and read and educated myself about teaching. Reflecting back on that 10 years later, it strikes me that we actually should do more of that. We would never think of starting research without educating ourselves. Yet, when it comes to teaching, we just go into the classroom and we do what our teachers did to us, which is what I did when I started teaching at Harvard over 30 years ago. So as I read, there were a couple of books that actually had a profound impact on the design of this new course that I'm going to present to you today. And one of those books is a book by the beautiful title of Who Owns the Learning by Alan November, who's a consultant for K-12 education. And in the foreword of this book, he starts with the following sentence. Have you ever experienced something, some seemingly random event, that made you completely reconsider the very essence of what you believed was true? Unquote. He recounts in the introduction what happened to him in the early 80s. He was in Marblehead, and he was a high school teacher in Lexington, Massachusetts, for those of you who are visiting here, an affluent suburb west of Boston. Now, Lexington High School, being an affluent suburb, was one of the first schools to implement a computer lab. I mean, in the early 80s was the emergence of the PC, the Mac, so it was a novelty in those days, and not many high schools had access to computing facilities. He was in charge of that computer classroom. On a Sunday morning, he gets a phone call that there's been a break-in in the computer lab. He drives from his home in Marblehead to school, parks his car in the parking lot. None of the windows in the computer classroom are broken. He goes inside. The door to the computer classroom is not been forced open. He opens the door, looks inside. All of the computers are still there. There's just one strange thing. There's a student sitting at one of the computers. So he goes over to the student and says, Jerry, what are you doing here? And Jerry looks up at him and says, I want to learn how to program the computer. That's when he realized that if somebody wants to learn, they'll do anything. They'll break the law if necessary. You don't have to bribe them with points and crack the whip them. They'll learn because they want to. You can look at small kids, 4, 5 years old. They learn not because we give them lectures and give them points and assessments and force them to learn. No. They learn because they want to learn. We are all so the rest of the book was actually not that relevant for me, but I started to think, wouldn't it be nice if in this course that I teach, where I have engineers and pre-meds who are not taking physics because they want to learn physics, no, they're taking physics because they don't take it, and have them own their learning. But, you know, it's one thing to do that with computers. How do you do that with physics? So you can see here, I had to come up with some kind of a Trojan that hides the physics. And the Trojan horse that I came up with was a combination of 2 techniques. Team-based learning and project-based learning. The project is there so that I don't have to tell my students, here's my book, learn it, it's good for you. Instead, I tell them, we're going to work on these really exciting projects. And if they're completely hooked on the project, I'll tell you more about that in a second. I tell them, by the way, you may want to have a look at this book and help you with the project. So the project is the goal. The team-based learning is there to provide a social responsibility for the learner. See, normally, the student is responsible to the teacher for his or her learning. If you properly implement team-based learning, the students are responsible to each other. And boy, are they sensitive to each other. Much more sensitive than they are to the teacher. Now, a lot of people implement team-based learning simply take the curriculum developed for individual teaching, the normal curriculum we have, and apply it in a team-based setting. Bad idea. Because the individual curriculum can be done by individuals. So if you have a team of 5 students, and there's one student who's really good in material, she or he can say, let me do it. And the others can free write. And the person who's doing all the work is annoyed that the other people are free writing, and the people are free writing are learning. Level 1 for team-based learning is make it so hard that even the best student in the class cannot solve it on his or her own.
So for a lot of the individual parts of the group, scores, instead of being, 80, 90, or whatever high percent, tend to range around the 50 to maybe even 40%. So even the best student says, whoa, I'm not sure I can do this. And the other students know, well, she might be the brightest student in the class, but there's no certainty that what she says is correct. In that case, everybody has to pitch in. Everybody has to work together. Okay, so how do you go about designing a course like that? I decided to apply something I already tried to apply to an existing course, but it's very difficult to do with an existing course. And we've had Carl Wine here already advocate this approach, backward design. Start from the output rather than the input. Instead of saying, in this course we're going to cover this content, ask yourself, what do I want as the output is? It's very well described in this book by Grant Wiggins, Understanding by Design. And the idea is that you start with the desired outcomes. And you ask yourself, what am I going to accept as evidence that I've accomplished these outcomes? And then finally, what instructional approach am I going to develop in order to maximize the output? Makes a lot of sense, but for somebody who was for many years taught by looking at the internet, the content of the data that people receive, it's actually not that easy to let it all go. So what I did was I surveyed all of the faculty here at Harvard who teaches a course that requires an introductory physics course in the physics department, in the engineering department, in chemistry, in biology. And I asked them about the output, what they thought would be a good desired outcome for an introductory physics course, as well as content. We got about 30 faculty who took the time of responding, and out came a set of lists, a set of outcomes, if you want, in 3 layers. At the top layer is a list of competencies. I'm not going to go into any details. I'll give you a link so you can download it if you want to look at it. This is way too much detail. I want to get into the course, not just the description of the outcome. These competencies have nothing to do with the course per se. Ideally, I would like to see these competencies across the curriculum. They involve things you can see in the background like design, quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis, and so on. Below that layer, I had a set of course goals, and the course goals fall into 4 broad categories. I want the students to be able to engage in self-directed learning. After all, learning how to learn is probably the most important skill in any education. When we give our students their diplomas, that's not when learning ends. That's when it really starts. And unless we equip them with skills to continue to not only learn, but also assess themselves, it'll be hard to progress. I want them to master the content. I want them to be able to engage in effective teamwork, and I want them to exhibit professional business, including ethics and punctuality and participation in the course. And then, of course, there's a very much longer list of specific content goals, which spans probably 6 pages. And I'm happy to share those with you. In fact, if you're ever interested in visiting the course, our visitor packet is at that URL, and I'll have the URL again at the end of my talk here. That gives all the details you possibly might want to know. The second thing that became clear was that I had to change the architecture of the room. This is a room in which I've been teaching for many, many years, and I write hardly for physics course, so instance or D or C. And you only have to look at this to see that it's completely focused on information transfer and on the faculty member in front, whereas the most important people in the classroom are the students, not the professor in front. By the way, who's responsible for this architecture? Must be professors. No, it's not professors. Where did it come from? The Greeks, exactly. The ancient Greeks designed the amphitheater. What did they design the amphitheater for? For plays, exactly. Did they teach that way? No. If you look at an illustration of the School of Athens, you see very different pictures. You see people walking around and talk and discuss. The Sistine Chapel is a beautiful painting of the School of Athens. So the Greeks knew darn well not to use the performance space as a learning space, but somewhere in medieval Europe they adopted the performance space as a learning space, and teaching became, in a sense, a performance act. So we had a library in Pierce Hall on the 3rd floor that was not heavily used. I decided to reduce the area of the library and to redesign that room as a learning space. I was on a committee to redesign it. I was also on the committee for the 21st Century Classroom at the university. One of the first projects was to redesign the classroom in Stone Hall, which became the innovation room. And it was sort of interesting to go through that process. Initially, we had the idea of putting in a lot of technology, the same way MIT has a routine classroom. But then we decided, we don't know how people use technology. Let's just get focused on the aesthetics of the room and the organization of the room. The room has only mobile furniture. It can be arranged in tables that accommodate 6 people, or 8 people, or 12 people, depending on how many tables you put together. It's a beautiful space. It had windows all around, which created a problem because we couldn't put whiteboards. They would have been covering up the windows that are on 3 sides. You only see one side that has windows, and you see the only side that does not have windows. The other had even more windows than you can see there, which make this space very attractive. Instead, we bought these mobile boards, which you see a few of them, although most of them have been moved away in order to be able to take the picture. It turns out those mobile boards were the best possible thing. Because now, if you're in that room, even if you would like to lecture, you can't. Not only do you have the students have their backs towards you, 80% of them are hidden by a board when these boards are randomly distributed throughout the space. So this space is focused on interaction. and are student-centered rather than subject. If I take the microphone and say, can I have a bit of attention, students don't even pay attention to me. It's very disconcerting at first, but once you come to terms with the fact that you're no longer the star in front of the room, it's actually probably a very good thing. So I decided also, right after that, I would not have any lectures, can't lecture in that room, and also no exams. I would like to talk about that. Some of you here know, attended the talk I gave 2 years ago about assessment. If you want to know why I eliminated exams, I urge you to watch the video.